Hey, what's going on everyone? Greg here, and the iPhone XR has been out for 3 months now, and with all of the controversy surrounding the iPhone XR's initial release, and now all of the new controversy regarding the sales of the iPhone XR and the sales of the iPhone XS, XS Max, and whether or not it is a successful phone, I thought now would be a really good time to go back and look at the iPhone XR, see if it's been a good purchase, and see how it's been performing over the last 3 months. We can look at what's changed, what's not changed, and more importantly, if the iPhone XR is still worth buying today. So one of the first things is over the last 3 months of getting the iPhone XR, I've been switching back and forth between my iPhone XS Max and my iPhone XR. And because I have the advantage of having both of these phones, I can really speak to the strengths and weaknesses of the iPhone XR. And if there's really any important features you're missing out on, or just the general experience of using both of these phones. And I gotta say, from a design standpoint of the iPhone XS Max versus the iPhone XR, I find that the iPhone XR holds up extremely well. I think the first thing you're probably going to notice when you pick up an iPhone XS Max as opposed to the iPhone XR is that the iPhone XS Max is a little bit bigger. Now you might think that having a bigger size might be an initial advantage for the iPhone XS Max, but I find that the iPhone XR's 6.1-inch screen versus the XS Max's 6.5-inch screen works in general towards the iPhone XR's favor. Not only are you getting a big screen inside of the iPhone XR, but you're also getting a more compact body. So when I go to pick up the iPhone XR as opposed to the iPhone XS Max, I find myself gravitating more towards the body size and screen ratio of the iPhone XR. Even though having a giant screen is really nice sometimes on the iPhone XS Max, especially if you're playing games or watching video, in day-to-day use, say going on the web, browsing social media, or just taking photos, I really do prefer picking up the body size of the iPhone XR. It really is the sweet spot between the XS and the XS Max. More keen-eyed observers are obviously going to notice the thicker bezels on the iPhone XR as opposed to the slimmer black bezels on the iPhone XS Max, and I gotta admit that the iPhone XS Max does look a little more futuristic, a little nicer here, but in day-to-day use of using the iPhone XR, just looking at the thicker bezels, it really doesn't bother me all too much. I really only notice it if I put the XS Max right up against it, and the average consumer is not going to be owning both of these phones, and you're really not going to notice it as you pick up and use the iPhone XR in your day-to-day life. Other differences, like the aluminum versus stainless steel sides, I really don't think it makes too much of a difference. Obviously, the stainless steel is a little bit heavier on the iPhone XS Max, and the aluminum on the iPhone XR makes it a little bit lighter. I don't mind the finishes on either one of the phones. I think the stainless steel does look really nice on the iPhone XS Max. I think it does look nicer, but I don't think that the XR looks bad at all, and I do like how it makes the phone lighter. Now, we've covered this next topic a million times on my channel, but in case you're new to the channel and you're watching this, the screen difference versus the iPhone XR and the iPhone XS Max are very minimal to me. Yeah, it's OLED versus LCD, but I think Apple does a really good job on the LCD on the iPhone XR, and I really don't have any issues using this LCD screen in day-to-day life. Of course, all of the features are still there, so I really do like Face ID on the iPhone XR, and I really love how fast it's gotten. And nice little touches like hiding your lock screen until it sees your face. I really like the experience of using it on the iPhone XR, and I really don't miss Touch ID at all. The one thing I will say that after 3 months of using the iPhone XR is that the new iPad Pro has come out with its new Face ID system, and the only thing I really miss from the iPad Pro is not being able to unlock your iPhone XR in multiple orientations. So I really hope the next version of the iPhone XR will add those improvements to Face ID so you can unlock it when you're holding it at any orientation. Yeah, most of the time you're not picking it up at a weird angle, but just for those few times that you do, it would be really nice to have the iPhone unlock instantly. I'd also like to note some of the improvements made to Haptic Touch in the 3 months that I've been using the iPhone XR. So some of my initial complaints with 3D Touch, like not being able to press into the lock screen notifications to expand their details, has been worked out since the 3 months of owning the iPhone XR. Apple patched this into a software update, so now when you go on your lock screen and you long press on the lock screen, you get the Haptic Touch, you get the more detailed view that 3D Touch would give you. They've also done some slight improvements to the 3D Touch on the camera and on the flashlight on the iPhone XR's lock screen. So now when you go to use the Haptic Touch in these areas, now you have to release your finger to enable the haptic touch. Before, it was just based on a long press, so even if you still had your finger down there, it would still activate. Haptic touch now waits for you to release your finger, so that makes it a better user experience in my book. Apple also added some really cool sounds when you're using this feature, which really makes it feel like you are clicking a physical button, and they really did a great job there with the haptic touch implementation. Now, the iPhone XS Max does have 3D touch, and I do think that is the better technology. I do like 3D touch better than haptic touch. It works in a few more areas, and I like how you can just instantly press down on 3D touch. Having these improvements made to the haptic touch has made me appreciate it a lot more. And although I would be sad to see 3D touch go away completely in future iPhone models, I do think that haptic touch is getting to be a better replacement, although I still think that 3D touch does edge it out slightly. So another thing I'd like to note about the iPhone XR is that after owning it for 3 months, this thing is still a battery life champ. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll know that I got the iPhone XS Max smart battery case, and partly that was due because I wanted to recapture the great battery life that my iPhone XR has. And yes, they make a smart battery case for the iPhone XR, but I really doubt that most people would need it unless you want to make your iPhone XR last for like a week or something. Seriously, I can't state enough just how great the battery life is on the iPhone XR, and even Apple now is advertising this on their website, saying that it is the best battery life in an iPhone ever. So if battery life is really important to you, if you're really concerned about having the best battery life possible in an iPhone, the iPhone XR here is a no-brainer. And speaking of cases, Apple has now released the iPhone XR clear case, which wasn't available at the launch of the iPhone XR. So I thought I would cover that here, and basically it is just a clear case for your iPhone XR, and yes, you can get cheaper clear cases out there, but one of the things I really like about the iPhone XR clear case from Apple is that the fit on it is really good. So the fit is really good, which minimizes thickness if you want to use a clear case. And another thing I really like about the XR's clear case is that the bottom is left open. Now you might be saying, why is that a big deal that the bottom of the case is left open? And that has to do with the gestures you use on the iPhone XR. When you have a case that has something on the bottom of it, sometimes that will rub up against your finger, and the iPhone XR clear case leaves that open, which makes gestures a little bit easier to access. Some of the other things I really like about the iPhone XR are the camera. So after 3 months of using this, I really don't find that I'm missing the zoom lens too much as compared to the iPhone XS or iPhone XS Max. And as for the wide angle camera itself, I really do like the photos that come out of it. It is the same exact camera that's found in the iPhone XS Max for the wide angle version, and although you don't get the zoom version, I do love the pictures that come out of the iPhone XR. More often than not, photos have really good detail inside of them, really good color, and I really love the new exposure setting with the Smart HDR. Merging all those photos together really makes for a really great image, and the iPhone XR just has a really stellar camera. I'll also note that the wide angle portrait mode really hasn't changed much since the release of the iPhone XR. So when it was first released, I was really disappointed with the lack of object portrait mode or animal portrait mode with the stock camera system. Unfortunately, Apple hasn't changed that yet, so the rear portrait mode still only works with human faces. I was really hoping that a software update would be implemented by now to add more recognition to objects or say pets. But unfortunately, with rumors of an iPhone XR2 or an iPhone 11R coming with a second camera, it doesn't look like Apple is really gonna focus any time to developing the wide angle portrait mode on the iPhone XR. Which does make me upset because one of the reasons I love the iPhone XR is that wide angle portrait mode, and I was really hoping that Apple would enable this feature on the iPhone XS Max, and they still haven't done that yet. So if you are an iPhone XR owner, it looks like you get an exclusive wide angle portrait mode. Also, after 3 months, Apple has addressed the smoothing issue on the front facing camera for the iPhone XR. Now I want to take a moment to talk about performance with the iPhone XR. Now I'm not going to go deep diving into the performance on the iPhone XR. If you really want to focus on that, you can go ahead and watch my older iPhone XR review video. But I do want to focus on the real world usage here, and in real world usage, this iPhone XR really has no slowdowns. And I'm going to bring up the comparison to the iPhone XS Max again, because sometimes when I use my XS Max, I do notice sometimes that the frames will skip, sometimes there will be some light juddering. And it's not always that I have performance issues on the iPhone XS Max, but there are some times where I have noticed it skipping a frame here or there. And I gotta say, using the iPhone XR, I really never faced this issue. I think it really has to do with the resolution compared to the iPhone XS Max and the iPhone XR. The iPhone XS Max has to push out a lot more pixels, and I really think having that lower resolution on the iPhone XR, even though I really don't notice a difference in the screen quality with it, I really think it makes the performance a lot better. I definitely think having that lower resolution in the iPhone XR is giving it an advantage not only in the battery life, but also in the performance of the phone itself. Really gotta say, I think that the iPhone XR might be better performance-wise compared to the iPhone XS Max, and that's pretty crazy when you consider that you're spending a lot less money to get the iPhone XR. Okay, so part of the reason I updated my review video for the iPhone XR after 3 months is basically because I think there's a stigma out there that the iPhone XR is failing. And when people read headlines that a phone is failing in sales, they might think it's due to it being a bad phone. They might think that the phone just really isn't a good value. But that's why I want to dispel the narrative. The iPhone XR isn't a failure even if the sales are lower than expected. It is still a really, really great phone. In summary, you're getting an iPhone with almost all the benefits of the iPhone XS with a great design, great performance, a great camera, and most importantly, amazing battery life. And if I could go into the Apple Store, if I could only buy one phone after 3 months, I would definitely go with the iPhone XR. I recommend it to all my friends and family, and after 3 months of use, it's still my top recommendation if you're going out to buy an iPhone today. All right, everyone, if you liked the video, make sure you give me a like. If you want to see more from my channel, make sure you're subscribed. Also, let me know in the comments below. I know a lot of people on my channel who are subscribed have purchased an iPhone XR, so let me know how you're enjoying it after 3 months of use. And as always, I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.